this, he couldn't remember being killed in the Ice Warriors. Did that bring anything back?
Well, it brought back what happened, yes. It was interesting. I didn't remember the actual death scene.
Wobbly mirrors.
Yes.
That's what they did.
Yeah. Well, there you are.
The memory cheats, and of course Zygons as well.
Well, the Zygons was a bit clearer in my mind in that sense. Though Ice Warriors was very clear, you know, I remember the rehearsals really, and where we rehearsed with Neil Atwood Grove and sitting having sandwiches in Debbie's car and all that sort of thing. It maybe was a wee bit more sociable than the Zygons, because you were you were more or less at the BBC, you know, and it was the canteen and lunch and the pub at top.
I'm sure that lasted a couple of hours. Now, this gentleman has the distinction of knowing about Doctor Who before anyone else did, because of?
Well, I was making in Munich The Great Escape, and in the company, in the movie, was William Russell. And I think I did touch on this a few months ago. He started, because we were there 16 weeks, making The Great Escape, and he started to tell us about his next venture with Nigel Stock and Robert Desmond and Nicky Attenborough and I, that Sidney Newman, who was a sort of very avant-garde director in those days in armchair theatre, was going to do a series all about this Doctor, and they were all going to be these wonderful effects in it, and Bill Hartnell was going to be in it, and this was all going to happen. And I rather questioned, certainly to myself, all these wonderful effects, if they would ever take place, because the cinema can do that sort of thing, but time is always our enemy. And in television, to do what Bill was telling us they were going to do, I thought, well, we'll still have to see it. And I in the end, was wrong, because it became the original Doctor Who. And when we came back, he went off and played the part, and he was in it for a long while. He was the first, I suppose, the first lad that they ever had. And it was very successful, and it went on to what it is today.
Before you appeared in Doctor Who, had you watched it at all? As a viewer, were you obviously aware of it being on TV because of Bill, but had you tuned into it on I Must See What Bill?
Oh yes. I wanted to see what we'd heard about, because it had all been sort of, if you like, on paper in a way, and this was the proof of the pudding. And the proof of the pudding was pretty good. I never thought I'd be in it. I mean, I didn't really think it would last all the years it did, but it did, and about 6 years later, I suppose, I did the Ice Warriors, and then 1975, I did the Zygons for Dougie Canfield. By that time, of course, it was all colour and all very far cry from those early days. But they were doing something pretty courageous. It was pioneering stuff, I like to think, and I was very intrigued with it.
When we spoke about earlier, I spoke to Peter Halliday earlier about Dougie Canfield. You knew Dougie Canfield a bit better, didn't you? Because you met him years before you worked for him.
Yes, he was an assistant floor manager, and at that time I was sharing a flat with Barry Cryer, and Barry met him, and he came back to the flat, and for a couple of nights he slept on the floor, and talked television all night. That's what he did, and his life was very much devoted to it. I mean, I think if he had survived and not passed away so suddenly and so quickly, he would have gone into feature films.
Ridley Scott?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I thought so.
Yeah. and he was very very talented, a great perfectionist again, and some of the things he would get. I mean, we worked to a very tight schedule, right to the very end, battling for the right effects at the end of the episodes. He was rather a special bloke.
Now, dear Mrs. Whitehouse, I'm sorry if you're going about this, but she was quite horrified at the Zygon story. Did you find that? Yeah, she was. Did you find that violent or shocking? Or
no, I believe they cut and then reinserted some episodes, some bits and scenes in it, but I never found it a worrying storyline at all.
Not even Europe.
No, because I mean, he can't do it any other way, can he? I mean, if you've met that lady, you might have been half failure.
Oh, that character shares the same maiden name as my mother. So when Sister Lamont appeared, we always used to look at Mother and laugh. Sister Lamont. She was a strange lady. Lilas Walker was
Yes,
that actress, yeah.
I don't know if she's still around.
I don't know. And Nick Courtney said, yeah, strange lady. Yeah. Wouldn't share a cup of tea with me. Extra strange. But you're talking about Dougie Camfield, how his life was cut short. How do you think, in the heyday of movies, especially nowadays, about Steve McQueen, if he hadn't passed away? You knew Steve very well. How do you think he would have fitted in to today, and what sort of parts do you think he'd be doing?
I just don't know. You have to remember, we were the same age. So Steve would have been 71. It's a far cry from the things he did.
Back in the 60s.
I don't know if he would have been a very happy elderly man. I just think maybe not. But it was a very sad way he sort of left us, and he was very much of his time, and he was a great, great star. I mean, it was Paul Newman, Steve McQueen, James Dean, maybe a little bit later Robert Redford, that kind of star. I think he would have taken his money and retired. He wouldn't have needed to do very much. I don't think he would have gone on too long.
Again, being self-conscious of repeating myself, I'd like to open it out to you guys straight away.
In Great Escape, my favourite scene is when it's 4th of July celebration and handing out the wine. You and Gordon Jackson are doing sort of your own home thing. And was that your idea, or was it sort of actually scripted that you two would start talking about region and dancing around?
Oh, it was in the script. But the song, I think, came from Gordon. It is an old song for the Tatty of football song. Well, I mean, it really is, and they let us do it.
We always sort of wondered what you were actually thinking, was just water good acting, or
No.
was it actually
There was just as well. The Minish Company didn't go that far. I mean, they maybe knew it would have indulged too far. No, it was just
So all that,
yeah,
it was all acting.
Yes, oh yes. No,
They did that in those days, didn't they?
Yes.
More questions, please. Please, more questions. Don't try on me.
Did you experience this, obviously during the war, how you came
During the war,
Yeah.
I was 9. Not that old, yes.
And your dad probably wasn't even born.
But during the war, one was in the Blitz, not in Clydebank, but in Glasgow, and you sheltered as best you could. It was rather frightening, but after I remember they had in the street, they had in those days what they called mobile anti-aircraft guns, and these mobile sort of car thing would go down the streets and fire a gun, you see, up in the air at some hopefully some playing. And we had an old man who lived across the road, and he came out in the blackout and shouted at them, "Take your bloody gun somewhere else."
During the war.
During the war. But it didn't. I was in national service, which at least was, you know, you were in uniform and that. But I did play an awful lot of army and naval and parts. I was the right age, which really wasn't the right age, because now they would have a boy of 18 or 19, whereas we were in our, I think it was 30 then, and you just played it. But in the conscription, of course, during the war, you could have been 30. I think they conscripted up to 40 years of age. But you just did the script and played it, tried to take part.